Teachers, what was the best smart-ass response from a student you have heard? Well, this one was during coaching classes for entrance exams. The maths teacher reduced a given problem to a simpler form and challenged the students so this expression doesn't fit any of the given standard forms for us to find the particular integral. So what do you propose we do? A kid from the back shouted the next question. This sounds like my entire calculus class my senior year. Not a teacher, but witnessed as student. We had a substitute who was leafing through the yearbook and got to the senior superlatives. Our school mascot was the Eagles. She started reading some if then aloud and said, "Oh, that's nice, Sarah." Most school-spirited a student answered back, "Yeah, because she's always a spread eagle." The substitute couldn't keep from laughing, as much as she tried not to. Not me, but a colleague told me this story. It was one of his first years teaching, so he was about 22 to 24 at the time. It was a junior high science class and he told the student to stop messing around and get back to work. The student's response, "Man, I got bitches older than you." My sister, who is a teacher, was taking her kindergarten class through the lunch line. Well, this day was St. Patrick Day, so there was green cupcakes. My sister told the class, jokingly, "Don't eat too many cupcakes, or you'll turn green." A young black boy looks up at her and says, "Miss Carey, I ain't never seen a green brother before." I witnessed a rather sad one. In my chemistry class sophomore year, one of my friends was going through some family issues, and his dad just left for a year or so. The kid was acting up in class and the teacher was like, "Do you want me to call your dad?" And he was like, "If he picks up, tell him to come home soon." I had a friend who told the teacher he wasn't going to be able to come to an after-school event. She started fussing at him, telling him that he wouldn't ever to make it college because of how irresponsible he was. When she finally asked why he couldn't come, he replied, "My house burned down." A kid in my math class would sleep on his desk. One day the teacher called on him to answer a problem on the chalkboard. He woke up, solved the problem on the board with zero difficulty, and then just went back to sleep. The teacher repeated the same thing a few times with similar results, and then just let him sleep the rest of the year. I had a teacher who, instead of letting me sleep, came to talk to me about how the others were slow and all. I've told this story on Reddit before, but this really shy kid that doesn't really speak much was getting picked on by this mean girl when the teacher tells her, "Be nice to him, he might be your boss someday." Without missing a beat he replies, "No thanks, I don't want to be a pimp when I grow up." My history teacher would spend half the class making jokes directed at the students. One student in particular always took the jokes on the chin and never really made any comebacks. Eventually, the teacher called him out and jokingly lectured him about standing up for himself. He ended his rant with, "You've gotta be a man. You've gotta be like me." The student replied with, "Well, which one? Do you want me to be a man or do you want me to be like you?" Edit. For those wondering, this happened back when I was in high school in the late 80s. It's one of those moments I will never, ever forget. This is sort of a flip from the question, but there was this awesome history teacher I had freshman year of high school who was just always in an amazing mood. We'll call him Mr. Smith. One day everyone is sitting in class waiting for the tardy bell to ring when the kid sneaks a condom onto the door handle. The bell rings and Mr. Smith walks into the room, grabs the handle to close the door, and pulls the condom off of it, looks at the condom helmet for a split second and stuffs it into his pocket while saying, "Thanks, I'll need this later." I got another flip of the script. One day in chemistry class, this kid that sat a couple rows behind me was drawing things on an orange. Just random doodle shit. A face on one side. That's every kid drew on another, but on one spot he drew a penis, as one would do, and the teacher saw it. Instead of making him put it away or cover it up, he asked, "Why are you drawing a penis on your food? Do you like to eat penises?" No kid has ever turned that red. We had a teacher that would always threaten to phone our home if we were misbehaving, which she promptly stopped after. Teacher, what would your mother say if I called home right now? Student, she would say hello. I'm not a teacher, but I had a friend in school who was always pretty dramatic. She actually did have IBS though. So we're in this bitchy teacher's class and she keeps asking to use the bathroom. The teacher says no. My friend's like, "I have IBS though." And the teacher is like, "Tell me what those initials mean and I will let you go." So she screams, "IT means I have to shit," and takes off out of the room. A more common version of this is, "Girl, Can I use the bathroom? Male teacher. Yes. Girl. Picks up bag. Male teacher. Loudly, why do you need your bag to go to the toilet? In high school, one of my teachers was having a disagreement with a student. I can't remember what it was about, but finally the teacher asked him if she wanted her to call his mother. The student replies, "Do it then. My mama will agree with me too." The teacher then asks him to leave her class. He goes, "You know what, I'm gonna call my mom for you." He then whips out his cell phone and calls his mom on speaker. "Hey, Ma, this teacher want to talk to you." The whole class just lost it. I've taught preschool for years, and one of my favorite dad responses to children who are being whiny just to whine is the "Hi, I'm your teacher. E.G. I'm thirsty. Hi, thirsty. I'm your teacher." Anyway, one day, after a long week, I sat down to lunch with my class, preschool, remember, 4 to 5-year-olds, and say to a child, we'll call him Tommy, "Boy, Tommy, I'm really tired today." Without skipping a beat, he swallows his mac and cheese, looks me right in the eyes and says, "Hi, really tired. I'm Tommy." That was the day I knew I had taught him all I could. My wife, when she was in high school, had a pay teacher that pulled this kind of thing. The class was doing some exercises, but my wife kept finishing them faster than the lazier students, so she would be standing around waiting for the rest of the students to finish. The teacher accused her of not doing them. My wife said she had done them, and they argued back and forth a bit. The teacher then decided to call my wife's father to get her in trouble or something. The teacher actually got a hold of him on speakerphone so the whole class could listen. The teacher tells him all about how your daughter says she finished her exercises, but is clearly lying, and won't do more exercises or something. My father-in-law, who was a partner in a very successful business law firm, listens quietly through the whole thing and then responds with, "My normal billing rate is large number of dollars per hour. Don't waste my time with this crap. If my daughter says she did the exercises, then she did them. Don't ever call me again," and then hung up. The teacher immediately told everyone to get back to their exercises for the day, and never brought it up again. Had my class of working class kids at an art gallery. As we waited for our tour to begin, we played on the small playground near the door. A prep school kid in a uniform approached 2 of my boys and said, "I bet I'm smarter than you are." I watched to make sure no blood was drawn. My students can hold their own pretty much anywhere and they don't accept insults casually. But they were cool. "No, you're not." "Are you in grade 2? The boy said he was, and one of my boys said, "So then we're all grade 2. So we are all grade 2 smart." He went back to climbing the monkey bars, but the prep school kid continued, "I know I'm smarter. Let's do some math and I'll prove it." The toughest kid in my room looked this guy square in the eye and said, "Well, I'm smart enough not to do math when I'm having fun on the playground." In high school, our functions and relations teacher would always start to say something, forget it and say, "I lost my train of thought." Well, one day a buddy of mine replies, "It's okay, sir. There were no important passengers on board." Edit. For those who are asking, functions and relations is a subset of finite math. Think of an entire course on the quadratic equation and its various offshoots. A kid mocked me when I said, "Don't do that." I started to yell at him and he said, "No man, that's a song." He then spontaneously came up with a rap song called "Don't Do That" and his friends started making beats. I was no longer mad. My friend, Brian, was in his homeroom class back in high school. The topic of abortion came up as everyone was asking each other why they're either against or pro-abortion. We're in Texas, so you can assume the ideas and opinions of the majority of the class. So my friend is a very intelligent and quiet fellow, minding his own business in a corner of the room. The class turns to him to get his opinion on the matter. Someone, "Brian, you've been quiet over there. So what about you? Are you pro-abortion?" Brian, "Well, I wouldn't say I'm pro, but I'm pretty good with a coat hanger." Jaws drop. The room is silent as everyone is registering what just happened. Glad I made it to school that day. A kid left a bag of flaming hot Cheetos under his desk in my first period class. I sarcastically announced to my second period class that if you leave any food in my class, I am going to eat it. Holding up the bag of Cheetos, one kid's response, "Well, someone should have left your feta salad." Spanish class in high school. Two guys who grew up in Spanish-speaking families were goofing off at the back of class. One guy says that he could stand the weight of another person standing on his stomach, and the other guy, who is probably just shy of 200 pounds, doesn't believe him. So the first guy gets on the ground in the back of class, and the other guy gets up and stands on his stomach. The teacher sees this, and immediately yelled at the guy on the ground to get back into his seat. Without missing a beat, he says, "I can't, he's standing on me." The other guy doesn't move because he wasn't yelled at. Meanwhile, the teacher continues to be upset that the guy on the ground isn't listening to her. I'm not a teacher, but this happened in one of my classes a few weeks back. My math teacher is a pretty chill guy and likes to share personal info every now and then, so he decides to tell the class he is getting married this summer break. Most of the class congratulates him and wishes him well. This one girl from the front of the class shouts out, "It has been legal for a year now. Why did you wait this long?" The whole class starts fucking dying laughing, and the teacher is just sitting there with his mouth open.